Hey y'all, this is Chill Codes, and this video is all experience levels of Regex Crossword. This is a cut from a Twitch stream. You can follow me at Chill Codes for all the most recent content.
Hello everyone! Welcome back to another episode of Regex Crossword. Regex, for those who aren't familiar, is regular expressions. They're used for pattern matching, and Regex Crossword is a game where you try and find text that matches two different Regex patterns. Alright, so today what we're going to be playing is the Experienced in Palindromida. In my last episode, I did tutorial, beginner, and intermediate, but this one's where things get exciting. So let's go ahead and hop into this first one. So vertically, we have two parentheses around FI pipe A. That defines a capture group that can either be the letters F and I, or the letter A. Now this is followed by a plus sign. Plus sign means that we've got one or more of these, so we know we'll have at least one of them. Now let's look at the horizontal. Horizontally, our first capture group right here is parentheses around Y pipe F, right? And Pearl has just announced her entrance. When we have Y pipe F, that means that we're going to have either Y or F in this first one. And since we know that vertically we don't have Y, we don't have Y as an option, we know that this kind of has to be F and then I. And let's validate this I against our horizontal pattern. So our horizontal pattern starts with parentheses around U pipe O pipe I. That means that this first letter can be U or O or I. Now this is followed by a splat. Splat means that you've got 0 or more. So it could be that we didn't have any of these, but since our I matches that U, O, I, we know that that's still valid. Let's keep going down this vertical line. So we've got A from Kane. So those are square brackets around K-A-N-E. That means that whatever occupies that space can be either K, A, N, or E. That's followed by a splat or a star, which means 0 or more. And in this case, I'm pretty sure it's A, because we don't really have space for another F-I. And the other thing that kind of clues it off is the fact that A is included in those square brackets around the word cane. Let's go to our next vertical regex pattern. So our next vertical regex pattern is YE pipe OT in parentheses, and it ends in a K. Now this K has no modifiers, no splat, no question mark, no nothing. So we know that the last character has to be a K. And now what we're doing is we're validating our against our horizontal regex pattern. So we have square brackets around K-A-N-E. K is included in K-A-N-E, and that splat means that we can have 0 or more of them. So because we can have 0 or more, that means we can have 2 at least. I don't actually know when we'll get to this square brackets around G-I-N, Jen. We might never. But let's go back to our vertical regex pattern. Now we have a dot in this horizontal one. Dot means any character, and it'll define a capture group that we reuse later. So I'm going to kind of move on and look at my next one to see if there's anything that helps me out. Let's see. Okay, so this one's interesting. We have the capture group U, O, or I, right? Pipes define ors, parentheses define capture groups, and we have a splat, which means that we can have 0 or more of them. We already have one of them, but that capture group does not contain an E or a T, which means that we know, that we're not going to be using that again because it won't validate against our vertical pattern. So we know that this can be a T, and then we can go back up here, and this can be an O, right? Because T is the next character after that capture group, and then OT is the only one that can use that. The T also here is not modified, so we know that it's just kind of got to be there somewhere in the pattern. Now let's take a minute to look at this vertical pattern. So we've talked about capture groups before, but this is the first time that we're actually using that capture part. Like we've seen a lot of cases where it's like, oh, here's parentheses around, for example, if you look at the vertical YE and OT. But what that does is it defines a character that will be reused later in the pattern. And in this case, it specifically defines a character. I don't think you can actually use like just a pattern, right? So for example, over here we define FI plus, or we define FI or A, and we can reuse that using that plus, and both FI and A will match a second time. But here we've defined our first capture group, which is Y or F, and we've defined that as F, which means you can't use Y or F. It has to be F, and not just because of our vertical here, which is kind of cool and interesting. All right, now let's see. This one right here, we're using this /2. That means we're using whatever was in the second capture group. Now, our second capture group is this parentheses around the dot, and that turned out to be an O, which means we know that this one has to be an O. And that matches against the vertical because we have parentheses around a dot, so it can be any character. Let's see. Yeah, so then this one, we have square brackets around D, A, and F, which means that this character can be any of D, A, or F. We don't have any modifiers on this one, like a splat or a plus, so we've only got it once. If we look at node, which is the vertical pattern, we've got square brackets around the word node, N-O-D-E, and then we've got a plus at the end, which means one or more characters. So pretty sure that one is a D, since that vertical pattern doesn't allow for an A or an F. Okay, so let's go to the next vertical pattern. Let's see. So we've got our first dot. That one isn't modified. It defines a capture group, but it doesn't have a splat, so we can't repeat it, which means that now we're doing either I or we're doing F. Now let's look at our vertical regex pattern. Now we've got U or O or I in parentheses and then a star. That means 0 or more, and it's in a line. So the fact that we've broken this up with a T means that we cannot use that I again later, which means we have to use the second part of the pattern, which is square brackets around F, R, and O. So that means it can be any of those characters inside the square bracket. And it's plus, which means one or more, which means the remaining 3 characters in this vertical have to be from that F, R, and O pattern. So if we look at this, F is included in that square bracket on the vertical, and F is included in the square brackets on the horizontal. So that one is F. If we continue along the horizontal, O is in both FRO and NODE. And if we continue once more again, this one is kind of interesting. So because this first one was F, we knew that like it could be either that F or that FY, because our capture group here is parentheses around FY pipe F pipe RG, which means it's either FY or F or RG. When we put that first F in, we didn't know whether it would be FY or whether it would just be that F, but now that we have this FRO to modify it, we know that this one has to be another F. Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Oh, no, wait. It doesn't have to be that. Okay, never mind. It doesn't have to be that. Just kidding. It could also be R, because R is in fro and it's in RG. And I think that's very likely, because if we go down and we look at our horizontal, this doesn't have to be a G, but because that F isn't in cane, we have to use that second regex pattern, right? Yeah. So you don't always need to use the regex pattern that's followed by a splat, but in this case we do, because we can't get another F out of our first one, which is cane. Let's hop back over here. So we have NODE, and N is in both cane and gin, and OD aren't in any of the others. So we're good on that one. Awesome. So here's where we start to really break this up and we define whether or not we're in Cain or Jin right now. So because this is vertically, it's square brackets around I and F, and then it's followed by a plus sign, which means you've got one or more of them. And if you look at Cain, I and F are not in Cain, but I is in Jin, so we know that this last one is in I. And let's look at our final puzzle. So this puzzle was called Royal Dinner, and our result is food fit for a king. F-O-O-D, F, and then I-T, F-O-R-A-K-I-N-G. So I'm feeling very confident that we got this correct. Oops. Validate. Yay! Next puzzle coming up in 5 seconds. So yeah, you can see we're really starting to get into the more complicated puzzles here, which is exciting. Okay, so this is the puzzle regular workout, and we're starting off with square brackets around A, R, or K, and that's followed by a splat, so we've got 0 or more of those. And then on the horizontal, we've got square brackets around U, G, L, E, R, and splat, so 0 or more of those. R is in both our vertical regex pattern and our horizontal one, so pretty sure this one is R. Let's continue vertically. Let's see. So this one we have square brackets around C-A-S-T, and then we have a splat, and then we have R-E-X, and R-E and X have to be included. Now, if we look at our vertical one, the next pattern is an O, right? Which means we have to have an O somewhere in here. But this pattern doesn't have an O in it. So, and it doesn't have like a slash character, or like it doesn't have a dot in it or anything like that. Which means I'm pretty sure we're still inside that square brackets A-R-K splat pattern. Which means what we're probably doing is we're probably starting at R and then moving into E and X. Oh no. Okay, this is interesting. Oh, wait, never mind. Never mind. Cast has A in it. I'm being silly. Cast has A in it, Arc has A in it, so it's probably A. I mean, we could find out later that it's not that, but we can't fit REX in here because X doesn't validate here against our vertical pattern because that has SOD or DO or G, and X isn't anywhere in that. So we know that we're still in cast because Rex doesn't fit. Cool. Back to this vertical pattern. So we're still in square brackets arc splat. We're still looking for our opportunity to insert an O. But I think we're still inside arc because there's no O in this vertical pattern. So the vertical pattern is square brackets around sires, S-I-R-E-S, and there's no O in that. Square brackets around a word means you can pick any of the characters. It's followed by a splat, which means 0 or more. So I think we're in R here. I think that makes the most sense because we're still in arc. Yay! We can finally put our O in. So our O doesn't have any modifiers. That dot after it is actually, that means any character, white space, number, whatever. And it's followed by a splat, which means we've got 0 or more of those. Actually, okay. So yeah, we've got O, which means this one can either be oft or on. But let's look at our vertical pattern. Oh, let me read out the horizontal pattern. So the horizontal pattern is parentheses, which forms a capture group around L, pipe, which is or, OFT, pipe, which is or, ON, which means that whatever character we put has to be either L or oft or on. And that's followed by a splat, so we've got 0 or more repetitions of that pattern. So I want to try and figure out whether this is oft or on. If I'm looking at my vertical pattern, I have a dot in parentheses, that means any character, and then I've got a dot splat, which means as many of any character or none, and then I've got a /1, that, as we mentioned before, is reusing whatever that first character in the capture group was. And then we've got an in, and then we're repeating that first character. So we know that this is an in because that dot is going to be one character. And we know it's going to be repeated in the last spot and in, not the penultimate spot, the penultimate spot. The third last spot. So we know that it's going to be repeated there. So we kind of know the in is there, which means we now know that this is on and that it validates. Awesome. Let's look at this last character. So we've used our O, which means that we're currently in our vertical pattern. We're in the dot splat part of that pattern. And that means any character and as many of it as you want. So if we're looking at our horizontal pattern, we have H star, which is 0 or more of that H. And then we have parentheses around AY pipe ED, close parentheses. And then we have a splat, which means this could be H, or it could be AY, or it could be ED. So we don't have enough clues to figure this one out yet. So let's go back up to one that might be a little bit easier to figure out, which is going to be our middle vertical regex pattern. That one's got SOD, pipe, DO, pipe, GE, repeated 0 or more times. So if we look at this, if we're trying to match this against the horizontal pattern, which only has the letters U, G, L, E, and R, then the only one of these patterns that starts with a letter in that is G, and then it moves down into E. And let's check if that matches against this. Okay, it does. But what's interesting is it does that if this is an R and this is an X. So if you look at the horizontal pattern, we've got cast and square bracket star. We've used that once. We can use it as many times as we want to. Then we've got the letters R, E, and X. These are not modified, so it just has to be the letters R, E, and X in a row like that. And then you've got square brackets around P, E, and A, and then a splat. So you can have either P or A. Yeah, either P or E or A as many times as you want. So let's check this R. So if our first character on the vertical pattern is a dot inside of a capture group, the second character is a dot followed by a splat. So that can be any character. So R definitely fits in there. And then if we go over here to our vertical pattern, we have square brackets around FAXUS, foxes, I guess. I don't know. And then it's got a splat. So as many of those characters as you want. We've got an X in there, so this does validate against our vertical patterns, which is cool. So we know that we got this one right. Awesome. Let's try this vertical pattern again. So the vertical pattern, just as a reminder, is SOD or DO or GE 0 or more times. So we've got sires on the horizontal pattern, and S is at the beginning of SOD. We don't have a D or a G, which means we can't start either of those two patterns, which means this is SOD. Now let's validate that against the horizontal patterns. So S fits in sires. If we have this O, it fits inside L or oft or on, as long as an in or an F fits in here. And now that I'm looking at this horizontal pattern, we do have an F in there, so that should fit. And then we have a T at the end. So on oft does fit in here. If I look at this T, the vertical there is Lopati, so that does have a T in it. All right, so now let's check this D. Okay, cool. So we have one or more H's, and then we have either AY or ED. And ED does end in D, so we can use that if an E fits here. Now, if an E fits here, all right, this is gonna be fun. Okay, so our first character is that capture group, right? That capture group is repeated every time we do /1, because that /1 is looking at the first capture group. So if this is an E, and if we look at our vertical pattern, it ends in a /1. This E is from this first capture group. And it's also going to be repeated here. So we need to make sure that E fits in all 3 of these locations. So let's see. We have UGLER. E fits in that one. And then in this next one, we have SIRES, sires. E fits in that one. So yeah, we know that this works. Sweet. So let's see. All right. Now we know what this character is. So I'm going to say again, we didn't have to have an H, but it is an H because that's the only thing that fits. We've got AY or ED, which are both 2 characters. So if we have a 1 character slot, that means that it has to be that 1 character from the H. Now let's validate this against the vertical pattern. We have square brackets around ARK, and then we've got an O, and then our last one, which is the one that's going to apply to our H, is a dot, which is any character. White space, numbers, symbols, whatever. And then it's a splat, which is 0 or more, so H validates against that. Let's hop back up to Boxus, whatever this one is. So we've got the letters FAXUS in square brackets, so it's any of those. And then on the horizontal, we've got UGLER, right? So letters that are in both of those, I think it's just U, right? Yeah, because there's no E, there's no R, there's no X, there's no S in both of them, there's no G, there's no F. Yeah, so it's U. That's weird. Oh, I think I know what this is gonna say. But I'm playing Regex Crossword. I'm not playing, what is it? It's not Jeopardy. It's like Wheel of Fortune or something, where you like ask for a letter and you like try and figure out what it's gonna spell. Actually, I don't remember what that game is called. Let me know in chat if you remember the game where you like spin a wheel and you get a letter and you try and guess it, and like Vanna White's the hostess. Alright, we have Lopati, and let's see what that maps against. Okay, so UGLER, we've got Lopati in square brackets, and I think the only one that's in both of these is L, because there's no E, no T, no Y, no P, no O, no, yeah, there's no G, U, or ER. Sweet. So let's see what matches here. Oh, I was wrong. I thought it was going to be like regular exercise. But now I think I know what it is again, because this one has to be P, which means that we're starting with REGULAREXPRES. So it's probably going to be regular expression. Probably. But I don't know what the rest of this is going to be. Wait. So if this is regular expression of the day. Oh, it's going to be day. Okay, it's going to be regular expression of the... Yeah, regular expression of the day. It's going to be regular expression of the day. I bet it's going to be that. Okay. Let's see. Let's validate. So on our vertical, we have F-A... Okay. Whistle with a straight bar told me that it's Wheel of Fortune, so I guessed correctly. Alright, the game with Vanna White and the guessing and all that sort of stuff. But I'm not playing that. I'm playing regular expression. So I'm only gonna look at the regular expressions. I'm not gonna read it out and be like, this is gonna be regular expression of the day. I'm just gonna use the clues from the regular expressions. Alright. So we have the letters F-A-X-U-S, and we have the letters S-I-R-E-S. That's probably gonna be S, because F-A-X and U are not in sires, and IRE are not in Thexus. Let's look at this one. I is in both Lopati and sires, and they don't have any other letters that like map to each other. Now let's go to this last one. We don't have an E in Faxus, so we know this has to be an A, and because we know it's an A, this one has to be a Y, and that validates, because over here we have the capture group AY pipe ED, so it's AY or it's ED, and then Lopati ends in a Y. Cool, validate. And we're going much slower through these than we were last week. But they're more complicated. Maybe I'll start going through them faster and explaining them less. All right, on the vertical, we have square brackets around QA. On the vertical, we have square brackets around ABC. On the horizontal, we have square brackets around QA. That means the letter has to be either ABC or QA. A is the one that matches both of those. QA is mandatory. ABC is followed by a splat, which means 0 or more, so it doesn't necessarily have to be that one, but I'm going to bet that it is, because so far they've been really nice about that. Let's see. I'm going to continue along. This is interesting. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use this horizontal one because it's got the most clues. This one's got parentheses around HE pipe RT pipe TK, which means it's HE or it's RT or it's TK. And then it's got a splat, so it's 0 or more of those, but then there's just one dot, which means this character at the end, I have no idea what it's going to be, but I can figure out these. Let's see. I can't figure out this from this vertical one, though, because following our ABC is a dot, which can be any character, or we could still be in the ABC. I think we're not in the ABC, though, because ABC doesn't start with HR or T. Let's try this next one. Oh no. Oh, wait. This one is helpful. Okay, this one is helpful. This one has to be T, and here's why. There's parentheses around the dot, which is any character, but there isn't any modifier on that. There's no splat, there's no question mark, there's no plus, which means that's only one character, which means the next one has to be T. The T is modified, so I could have 0 or more T's, which I mean, I guess that means this doesn't have to be T, but it does kind of, because we know we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters here, and this last one is a repeat of the capture group because it's /1. So it's going to repeat whatever this first character was, which means we've got a variable number of T's and E's along this vertical line, which is going to be fun. Oh, actually, I think that actually helps us with this one, right? Okay. So over here we have a capture group containing RE or QR, right? And we know that this vertical is going to be T's and E's, so we can put that E there, and we know this is going to be an R. And let's validate that against this. This is ABC. This could either be, yeah, this is our thing. Okay. Wait a second. That has to be R. So our first capture group is this dot. We know that this is an R, which means this has to repeat, and that validates against this horizontal one because we've got RT inside of a capture group. We've got the 0 more times, but we know it's going to repeat. Cool. That makes sense? Okay. Now we've got this first one, we're repeating that capture group. Let's go down to this one. All right, so we've got all of our T's in. In order to fill in all of the spaces, this is going to have to be an E because we've already used our T's. Again, the splat means they're all in a line together. If we look at our horizontal, that matches because we've got E, U, or W, and then we've got a splat, which means that we've got 0 or more of those. So we can still use E from that pattern. Let me look at this one now that we know that. So we've got E, U, and W, and if we look at the last capture group of our vertical, that one's going to be parentheses ME pipe UO, so it's ME or UO, right? Now this one, we know that that E is here, so we're still inside the EUW pattern here, which means this has to be U, which means this has to be O, right? Yes, because this is UO and ME doesn't fit here. It doesn't fit on this horizontal pattern. So if we go to this horizontal pattern, we've got another capture group. So we've got that parentheses around the dot. That's capturing that O, and we know that there's going to be another capture group here. The capture group here is the second capture group. So when we see that /2, we know that it's going to use the character from here, And we also know when we see that /1 that it's going to reuse the character from the first capture group. So we know that this is O. Now let's validate that against the vertical pattern. This vertical pattern ends in O+, which means we can use that one or more O's as our last character here. Awesome. That's excellent. Now we know this character is O. Let's see if this character is T or O. This vertical pattern ends in T star, which is 0 or more T's, and then it has an O. Oh, well, it's 0 or more T's. So far they haven't dropped anything in here that we haven't used yet, so it's probably a T, but let's just check. The first part of the pattern is, oh, this is awesome. Okay, the first part of the pattern is W-E, pipe, G-A, pipe, A-L, but there's no splat, which means that that pattern is only going to occupy these first two patterns, which means this one and this one are going to be either T or O. If I look at the horizontal pattern here, there's no O in it. It's E-U-W, star, an S somewhere, and then R-I-T-E. So I know that this is a T because it can't be a W. What's cool about that is it actually tells us where our S is as well. So our S here isn't modified. It's right between those square brackets of R-I-T-E and those square brackets E-U-W, which are repeated. So as soon as we find the place where those two meet, we know it has to be an S. Let's validate that against the vertical pattern. So our vertical pattern here ends in parentheses, S in, pipe, P-A, which forms a capture group, right? Now, this has to be S in because we've validated S fits here, and now we validated in fits here. Now, what did we learn earlier? This character is the repeat of the second capture group. It's /2, right? So if we look at our horizontal pattern, we see that we've got parentheses dot, and then we've got /2, which means that this one has to be in as well, because that in is just repeating whatever we captured before. Let's, oh, this is exciting. This is another capture group on the vertical. So if you look at the vertical, this first character here defines the capture group. And then all the way down here, we repeat that capture group because the last character is /1, right? So if that's /1, and that /1 is an in, we know that this one is an in. Let's validate it against the horizontal regex pattern. So the horizontal regex pattern here is square brackets around QA. That's done. We figured out that was an A. It's over with. Next comes a dot. Dot is any character. In is any character. So we're good to go. Awesome. This is followed by square brackets W-E-S-T, which means that the rest of these three characters have to be a W-E-S or T. Ooh. Okay. Let's look at the vertical pattern here. We've got square brackets around H, A, and S, and then we've got square brackets around W, E, S, and T. S is in both has and west, so we know the answer to that one. Let's see. So here we have that pattern again, W, E, or G, A, or A, L. W in that vertical pattern is the only one that is in both west and W, E, or G, A, or A, L. Because these are two letters, we know that this next one has to be E. Let's validate it. Since we're working on the vertical, we're going to validate it against the horizontal. Awesome. So there is an E in here, but it only works if we have an H here because it's got parentheses around HE, pipe, RT, pipe, TK, which means it's either HE or RT or TK, right? So HE, that works. We've just put something in the horizontal, placed something because of the horizontal pattern, so let's validate it against the vertical. We've got square brackets around H, A, and S. We're still inside that pattern because we've got that star, and that star means 0 or more, and we're going to be in that pattern for the rest of this vertical because this parentheses SN, pipe, PA are only the last two characters because it isn't modified with the star, a question mark, or plus. So that HE does fit because it's inside the word has. Let's continue along this vertical. So let's see. On this horizontal, we've got parentheses RE, pipe, QR, which means it's going to be RE or QR for our first two letters. That's not modified, which means we're in the second part of the pattern. The second part of the pattern is square brackets around QUART, and then it's got a star, which means 0 or more, which means we're inside that QUART, and we're trying to map against has. So that should be an A, because A is the only thing that's in both quart and has. Let's move on to our next one along this horizontal, because that sounds fun. So we know it's going to be in the word quart, and we're looking for T. It has to be T. See, we've got T star, which is 0 or more, and we had a T here, which I think is what triggered this whole like cascade of answers. And it kind of has to be T because this one is WE, and this is 0 or more T's. And because we'd already broken it up here, that had to be T because it's the only way it could match the vertical pattern. But it validates against the horizontal too, which is good. Let's continue with our horizontal pattern. This character has to be within the word quart. We know that already. So let's see, which of these has letters from quart? So if I look at this, we have parentheses, e.g., pipe, B, E, B, and then we have square brackets around Q, or W-I-Q. Now, E.G. and B-E-E are not in quart, but do you know what it is? Q, which means that we've broken this pattern. We are now in the second half where we've got square brackets around W-I-Q, star, which means if we continue along this vertical, it has to be W-I or Q in these next 3 vertical characters. If we look at the horizontal, you've got R-I-T-E. That's the last portion of the horizontal regex pattern, and I is in both W-I-Q and R-I-T-E. Let's go to our last one. Ho-ho, okay. So our last one has square brackets around W or E, which means that the last character has to be W or E. If we look at our vertical, square brackets around W-I-Q, W-W. Awesome, we're almost done with this one. So because we don't have 4 characters, this has to be E-G in order to fit the vertical pattern. Let's validate it against the horizontal pattern. So we've got an E here. If we validate against the horizontal, we're looking at square brackets W-E-S-T star. So if this is in, yeah, so E fits in west, so we're good. If we move to this next one, our last character is a dot, which is any character, which means we're good. Okay. We apologize for the inconvenience as the puzzle name, and our little word in here is ANSWERTHGREATQUESTIONNOW. Answer the great question now. By the way, if y'all wanted to try and guess what the sentence is gonna be while I'm like puzzling it out, that could be fun. That could be really fun. All right, next puzzle coming up. Ha-ha! Oh no! Are y'all looking at this? It's just punctuation! Oh no! Oh, that's delightful. All right. Whew. Okay. The first thing I'm going to say, because this is going to be really important for this one, is that forward slash escapes a special character and means that it is the regular character. So if I get lost, remind me of that, okay? That's going to be really important for this one. The puzzle name is questionable, and I can see why. All right. I'm going to pull up help just in case. So these are all of the rules regarding regex, and I haven't been using these so far. I'm just going to skim through these really quick. Okay. Yep, I'm reassured that I did not forget what any of the regex pieces are, so I don't accidentally name something that. Okay, let's do this. All right, let's start. Let's start with our horizontal. Our horizontal is square brackets around a pound sign followed by a question mark.
This question mark does not have a slash in front of it, which means that it is the question mark over... Wait, where is it? Oh yeah, it's the question mark from the rule that means 0 or 1 n. So this first one is square brackets around a pound sign, and it could be 0 or 1 pound signs, I think. Oh no, wait. Wait, maybe when it's inside square brackets, it never counts. Oh, maybe when it's inside square brackets, it counts as the character and it never counts as the rule. Because it wouldn't make sense to be like, yeah, match against 5 pound signs versus 1 pound sign. Because when it's inside the square brackets, like, you're not counting anything at that point. Maybe that's what this is trying to teach me. Maybe that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. All right, okay. So I think this first one can be pound sign or question mark. And then it has an exclamation mark. That exclamation mark is not one of our fancy regex things. So it's just an exclamation mark, and it's followed by a splat, which means there's 0 or more of them. Okay, okay. Now we got square brackets again, and I'm starting to feel like my theory that you don't need forward slashes when you're inside square brackets in order to escape the character is making more sense. Because we have square brackets, and then we have a colon, a question mark, and then a semicolon. So I'm thinking that this last character can be either a colon, a question mark, or a semicolon. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. And this one can be either a pound sign or a question mark. Okay. Okay. I'm going to use this one because this one doesn't have a splat. Splat means 0 or more. I really wish, because I'm seeing them use splat, and I have yet to see them have a splat that meant 0 of it. So I really wish that those were pluses instead, because then I could be more certain that there is at least one of them. Okay. All right. So we're going to use that vertical one, and we're going to use this horizontal puzzle to figure out what the first one is. Okay. So this horizontal one, I'm just going to look at the first character. That first character is being modified by open square bracket, open caret, question mark, close caret, close square bracket, right? Which means that since we can have either colon, question mark, or semicolon, or open caret, question mark, close caret, this one ends in a question mark. That's what I currently believe. Let's look at this vertical puzzle to try and figure out the vertical piece here. Okay. So we have parentheses, 2 exclamation marks, or do you see that forward slash? That means it's a question mark. Just a question mark, just the character. It doesn't modify anything. Okay, so we have question mark, and then we have an exclamation mark. So this is either 2 exclamation marks or an interrobang, question mark, exclamation mark, or it is semicolon forward slash question mark, which is semicolon question mark. And there's 0 or more of those. All right, so that's our vertical. Now, our first character in those square brackets is a question mark. Yeah? It's a question mark. Yeah. In the square brackets, we have a pound sign and a question mark. This one has to be the question mark, because that's the only one that matches against one of these. We don't have a pound sign in this. Now, pound signs are also known as octothorpes, which I think is a much cooler name for them. Now, our middle one here is question mark, exclamation mark, and that's the one that I think that we're using right now, which means that this one, this next one on the vertical, is an exclamation mark. If we look at our horizontal regex, we have a period inside a set of parentheses. That's a capture group capturing that exclamation mark. If we look at the rest of this regex, I'm going to skip this middle capture group. That's our 2. We have /1 and then another /1, so that's going to reuse this exclamation mark from our first capture group. So right here, we're going to have... right here, we're going to have an exclamation mark, and then right here, we're going to have an exclamation mark. Okay, cool. Now we got to validate this against... Now we got to validate this against the vertical. So this first character is being affected by the first part of our vertical regex string, which is square brackets around the character question mark, the character splat, and the character exclamation mark. It is then followed by a dot. A dot can be any character. In this case, that character could be an exclamation mark. So we validate against our vertical regex on this column. Now let's look at the vertical regex on the last column. Let's look at just the section of this regex pattern that is modifying the exclamation mark. We already used the first set of square brackets. Now we're looking at the middle set of square brackets. And these are going to be open square bracket, / open square bracket. / as I was like, this is going to be really important, means that that's just the character. So open square bracket is defining the character set, and open square bracket is in that character set. The other character in that character set is exclamation mark. So this validates against our next vertical regex pattern. Cool, and that could be repeated 0 or more times. So we're currently validating against both of those, which is great. Cool, so that's that one. Let's look at this horizontal regex pattern. So the horizontal regex pattern here opens with square brackets, and it can be either an octothorpe or £, or question mark. And then the next character is an exclamation mark. That exclamation mark has a star behind it, which means that it can be repeated multiple times. So this is an exclamation mark. We know that this last question mark is the end of our regex string, which means this is an exclamation mark and this is an exclamation mark. We added these two, so let's validate them against the verticals. Against this vertical, this one, relatively speaking, is straightforward compared to the rest of them. We've got open square bracket defining our capture group. We've got open caret, exclamation mark, question mark, star, octothorpe, or hashtag. And then we've got close caret, and then we've got square brackets. So just all of the characters on this vertical line can pretty much be any of the ones that we've seen except for like open bracket or something like that. So yeah, that's all of these. That's fine. That passes validation. Let's look at the next one. This one. In this one, the first character is a dot inside of a capture group, which means that we're repeating that again. Awesome. So much fun. So this is our first capture group. We have a character that could be question mark or £, here. And then down here, we have another exclamation mark. Now I want to take a moment. We have a / question mark. And I just want to take a moment to include that one because that has to be question mark because that / means that it's just a question mark. Now we're got a /1, which means we're pulling that exclamation mark from our first capture group. Okay, now we got to go through and validate this on the horizontal, right? Okay, horizontally, if I'm looking at where this is, okay. So we have £, question mark. This question mark does not have a slash before it, which means that question mark means that there could be 0 or 1 of that octothorpe hashtag £. Before that comes exclamation mark star. So this one could be a £, could not be a £. We don't know if it's going to be in there. But exclamation mark is included as the second to last character, because it's exclamation mark star, which means you get 0 more. Anyway, it validates against the horizontal regex pattern. Question mark, do you validate? Okay. Yes! Oh my gosh, yes! This is the nicest one to validate against. So you've got a dot, which is any character, and that's going to be in this first one. And then you've got, in the second one, square brackets, semicolon, or question mark. That can be either of those. And then in this next 3, it's affected by the last part of our horizontal regex pattern, which is square brackets around open caret, exclamation mark, question mark. And question mark is included in that. Question mark, in fact, matches against all of those regex patterns, so I don't even have to care about where they end or where they start. Let's go to our last exclamation mark that we need to validate against the horizontal. Yay! Okay. So we have parentheses, capture group. That's going to be this first character. Then this next character, potentially this character, have to be square brackets, semicolon, exclamation mark, or quotes. This one or this one can be an exclamation mark, but we also know that this one is that first character because it's /, so it's pulling it from the capture group, which means that we know that this one is an exclamation mark and it's telling us that we are correct. Okay. Now I gotta figure out where I want to start from. Okay. Do you know what? I'm just gonna pick one. Alright, so this is a repeat of this capture group. We're going across the vertical here. We've got the most clues over here. We're gonna play this like Sudoku. They should call this Regex Sudoku. It's much more like Sudoku than a crossword puzzle. It's just my thoughts. Okay. This can be any character. Okay. Vertically, this can be open caret, exclamation mark, question mark, star, octothorpe, close caret. Horizontally, this can be either semicolon or question mark because this is that first one. I want this to be question mark so that this one can be question mark as well because that's going to validate against our dot, square brackets, question mark thing. Okay, cool. Yeah, and that validates against everybody. Everybody's happy and we figured out this vertical puzzle so I never have to look at it again. Let's... Which of these looks the nicest? Let's look at this one. Let's look at this one. This one's good. Alright, so our horizontal here, this first character is modified by our square brackets around quotes with an exclamation mark. That just means it can be quote or exclamation mark. But if you look at our vertical, we don't have quotes and we don't have dots or anything like that. So we pretty much know that this one has to be an exclamation mark. Yay, and that can be repeated multiple times. Let's also look at this vertical one. This vertical one ends in a / question mark. So this last character has to be a question mark because that question mark is a, so whatchamacallit. It's got that / so it's just a character. It's not a modifying question mark. Alright, yeah. If I get this puzzle right, you have to like send me clap emojis in like chat, okay? Because this is some crazy nonsense. All right, we have a capture group around this question mark, right? This last character is going to be a repetition of that capture group, so that has to be a question mark. Now that means these two characters, as we alluded to earlier, are going to be semicolon, exclamation mark, or they're going to be quotes. If I look at this one, pretty much the only characters that aren't inside our little block here, which contains open caret, exclamation mark, question mark, star, octothorpe, and close caret, is semicolon and quote, so that's an exclamation mark. I am just now realizing that these are all exclamation marks and question marks. I feel a little tricked. I'm beginning to think those are the only two characters we're going to see in this one, and I've been thinking about all the other characters for no reason. Alright, let's look at the last piece of our vertical regex puzzle. Square brackets around exclamation mark, open caret, star, repeated multiple times. Yeah, that's got to be exclamation mark. because there's no semicolon, there's no quote, and then yeah, there's no open caret, there's no star in the other one. So yeah, that has to be exclamation mark. Okay. If I'm looking at the vertical, I could have multiples of these. I could have question marks anywhere. Yeah, this one maybe. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to this one. On the vertical, the only one that actually starts with an exclamation mark. I'll repeat the capture group again. So the capture group is 2 exclamation marks, or a question mark, exclamation mark, or a semicolon question mark, right? And then it ends in a question mark. The only one that starts with an exclamation mark is 2 exclamation marks. Yeah, and then this first character on the horizontal is a dot, which can be any character. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that maps. That maps. Y'all? I think I figured this whole puzzle out, and I think I know what shape it's gonna make at the end. If you're gonna try and guess, because I think I've cracked it. I think I know what it's gonna be. Alright. This one. Okay, so our first character in the horizontal regex string is a dot. That's an exclamation mark. We knocked that one out. The next one is square brackets around either a semicolon or a question mark. We've previously listed out what the vertical characters are and that they do not include a semicolon. So this is a question mark, right? Okay, so this last 3 is square brackets around open bracket, exclamation mark, question mark. Let's take a look at this delightful vertical regex. All right, so our first character right here is the square brackets, and we figured out that was an exclamation mark. Our second character is the dot that follows those square brackets. This character has to be that / question mark. We haven't had any modifiers, no stars, no splats, no nothing. So this has to be that character, which means that if we go down here, these 2 are square brackets, exclamation mark, open caret, star, close, like that is it. Like those have to be, like these 2 characters have to be one of those 2 characters, and it is repeating. Which means that this one, if we're looking at it, on our horizontal, we've already used the dot in the square brackets, which means these 3 have to be close caret, exclamation mark, or question mark. Exclamation mark is the only one that's in both of these. Here's my theory. The rest of these, I'm just going to fill out with exclamation marks. That's my bet. I bet this is a pattern of question marks and an X, and these last 3 are going to turn out to just be exclamation marks. So let's see. Let's see if I'm right. All right, so here we have a / question mark. That's this one. And then we've got a repetition of either quotes or exclamation marks, because that square brackets, quotes, exclamation marks, followed by a star, means 0 or more of that. We've already got one of them. And I think this is and I think this one's going to be the second. So on the vertical, you have exclamation mark, question mark, blah, 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 blah. You don't have quotes, so it's an exclamation mark. Let's look at this last one. Okay. Okay, cool. We're back at this puzzle again. So the first one, we already figured out. That's the square brackets with carets around the question mark. The second one is square brackets around open square bracket, exclamation mark. So that's just going to be square brackets / open square bracket, exclamation mark, close square bracket, star. That is one regex pattern, like it's a little chunk inside of it. And that means that it's going to be either open square bracket or exclamation mark, and it can be repeated 0 or more times. That is the last regex pattern we were in, and I think that's the regex pattern for these 2, because the last section, which is square brackets around question mark / pipe, which is an or pipe ending in a £, that section right there is this question mark, and it doesn't have any modifiers, which means that these two have to be either open square brackets or exclamation marks. Let's look at our vertical. All right, or our horizontal. Let's look at our horizontal. So we have a pound sign question mark. That means 0 or 1 pound signs. We don't have any hashtags here because it can only be, oh no, wait. Yeah, it can only be exclamation mark or open bracket. So it's exclamation mark. Now we're going to go to this last one. Square brackets, open caret, exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark. So we don't have an open bracket. If this validates, I'm serious. I want to see clapping emojis. It validated. I solved it. That is nothing but like a metric. I'm not gonna curse on this channel. That was nothing but like a ridiculous number of symbols, and I solved it. And it validated the first time. I'm really happy. I hadn't done that puzzle before. I was very surprised when I saw it. Okay. Whew. Thank you, Liz, with the straight bar. Thank you. Alright. Now we're back to the normal stuff. Hold on. I just wanna... This is my cat. She's been sleeping next to me. I'm gonna take a breather and pet my cat. Hello. Good girl, Ruby. Oh yeah. You're a very sweet cat. You wanna go back to napping? Okay. There you go. I had to put a bunch of boxes next to my chair because like she kept trying to like climb on the table and into my lap to be with me. So I just took like a stack of boxes and set them next to my chair so she could sit right next to me. Alright. Yeah. Cool. So you got square brackets around R-U-T-H with a star. You got square brackets around I-T. T is in both of those. Oh, they're so kind to me. If you go along the horizontal, there's an O in parentheses, which can only be an O. Like there's nothing else it can be. It's just so simple. Then we got a /1, so we're gonna repeat that O. Huh. Oh, okay. The puzzle name is Hamlet, and this started with 2. I think I can Wheel of Fortune this just on that. Alright, let's see. KK3R has 2 curly braces 2 first. Where's that one? Oh, here it is. Yeah, I like that one. That should be a nice and easy one. Because that one's just like straight up 2 T's. Yeah. Alright. Let's go to this one. This next section is parentheses BE or AD. I wonder if it's B or add. If I look at our vertical one, it's MNBO. Oh, there's no A in that one, so it has to be B. You know, this one is O. I'll validate that in a second. This is E. So now we have 2BO. Interesting. Let's validate this O really quick. We have normal plus square. O is a normal, so we're good. Let's go over here. I think I'm going to take an educated guess that we're still in Ruth and that this is an R and that R fits inside normal. Yeah? Let's see. Yeah, because this one's going to be multiples of those. And then over here, we're starting with an O. Our first capture group is BG or ON or KK. And because we've started this with an O, ON is the only one that fits there. So we have 2B or not T. And the name of the puzzle is Hamlet. This one's a troubling one. Alright, Cool. So we're going to deal with ranges, which is exciting. So we have these curly braces. I just realized that KK3R recommended that I do the TT first, but I never actually like talked through what I was doing there. So the curly braces define a range. If there's just one character there, that means that's exactly how many characters there are. If there's 2 comma anything, it means you can have 2 or more of that character. But it has to have at least 2. Since these first 3 are all 2 characters and they don't have like a modifier or anything, I'm pretty sure we're going to be having E or U for the rest of these 3. Let's look at this. We have, okay, so if I look at this, I've got XA or BE in the middle, and then I can have any characters before and after it. Okay. Since this is, let's see, yeah. So these 3 characters have to at some point in them have XA or BE. Because U isn't in that, it has to be this BE, right? Yep. And that can be repeated 2 or more times. Hold on, we'll take a minute to validate this against the horizontal. And I'm glad I did, because that BG does validate, and it gives me the hint that this one is probably G. Because we've got 1 or more of that. And then the last one can be RI or F, but I'll come back to that one. Let's see, if I look over here, our first one is EG or UL, which means that's EG. KK3R just asked how I read them vertically. I don't know, I can read upside down as well, so that helps. But if you want, I can like hover over them for a second, because the tooltip text actually pops it up horizontally. But I think kind of the bad thing about that is it's very, very small, and I'm not sure how good the resolution is and whether you can like read it with the tooltip text. Also, how do you want me to say your name? I keep saying KKK3R, but I guess I could just be like Kerr. Does that work? Can I just call you Kerr? Sorry, that was dumb. All right, let's see. We're at EU and we're going downwards. So you got EG or UL, ranges 2 times. I think that means we have to repeat that twice. Oh, which would mean this would have to be EG? Well, there's no U in ALF. So I think that's how that has to work. Oh, there is a U in UL though. So this could be UL. Oh, yeah. I figured this out. Yeah, I figured this one out. Okay. Yeah, I think I figured this one out. Oh, kicker. Cool. Cool. Hi, kicker. Thank you for pointing out the T's. Okay. I don't technically know that these are UL yet. I'm just guessing based on the, yeah, at that point I'm just guessing based on what I've read so far. I'm not gonna do that. That's like cheating. All right, so this one has to be an E or a U, and we've got that dot plus, so it could be anywhere. Let's go back to this one. I like this one. This one's nice. So we have Ruth, and then we have OE or EO, which means this could be an O, or it could be an E, and it's a dot, like this. Aha! But here's where we narrow it down. We've got REQ star. O isn't in that, so we know that this has to be OE. And then we know that that last regular expression, which is RB, which is 0 or more of either R or B, is this last one. And that matches against our REQ. So that has to be R. Yeah, we've got 1 or more of those. Okay, cool. Let's go back to this one. All right, so we've used O end. That means we've used this first section. And then there's BG, which is a repetition of that one. So this last one is 1 or more RIF, so it has to be RI or F. Let's see. So I think that's going to be R, because that's going to match our REQ. And that G or P, yeah, it's not, like, nothing in RIF is going to match that. So we're still inside the REQ regular expression. or the REQ part of the regular expression. All right, so we have BO, and then we're looking for EUs. We don't know if this is EG or UL because we don't know what this is, but maybe we can figure that out. All right, so this first one, we can have multiple, oh, there we go. This ends in a G, so we know that this last one has to be a G, which is probably this G or P, but it could also technically be this dot because it's any character. So you could end up with a G or a P there, but probably not. Let's look at this. So this is going to be KT or AL or ET. If I look at this, we have ALF and UL. Yeah, and there's no T's, which means we've narrowed that down to L, which means this one can be either AL or this one can be AL or wait, no, it can only be AL. I kept reading that like ET is an AL. I guess Kicker is right. I can't read them vertically. Okay. Let's see. It's EEE at middle vertical because G is the last one in the fourth vertical. Yep. Yep. That's fair. There's no U in REQ. Yep. Because we're still modified by this E. I think this might actually be a U on this one, because we've got E or U, and we can repeat that range 2 times, and because we know this is an L, we can't fit an EG in there. Alright, let's swap over here. Let's see. We know this is an O. At some point, yep, at that T, we decided this was a T. Because of that, we're in this second portion of the regular expression where it's got parentheses PR or AX or TR, which means that this is TR. And we've got multiples of those, which means this is either PR, AX, or TR. Because ALF are our last couple of letters here, we know this is an A, and we know this is an X. To be or not to be a regular Regex. Oh, Regex. Yeah, they didn't have a space for an E there. But yeah, I think we got that one. To be or not to be a regular Regex. If Regex is regular expression and you're a regular Regex, aren't you technically being redundant? Like regular expression? They're irregular ones? Oh, yay! Okay, we just finished experience, which is great. Okay, we've got 30 seconds before YouTube whisks you away somewhere else, so start furiously clicking. There's a like button, subscribe button, bell icon. I've got links and stuff in the description. What else? There's social links below me. Ooh, if Future Rachel did her job right, there's a video over here. Ooh. What else? Oh, most importantly, thank you for watching. I don't know if we'll ever see each other again, or if you're going to another of my videos. So, aloha.